What is up, gamblers? Happy Friday, and welcome back to the Undefeated Post-Weigh-In Show. I'm your boy, your host, as always, Clint, and I'm back. I'm ready. I'm pumped up. I got my ass kicked in the PFL last night. I am not happy about it. Freaking Brendan Loughnane ruined the parlay that would have made the night okay for me. So we've got some work to do at UFC 289. We got to make up for that L. I haven't taken many L's in 2023, okay? I'm not used to it right now. I don't like the feeling. We got to kick some ass tomorrow, and that's what we are doing. This is the Undefeated Post-Weigh-In Show. If you've never seen it before, not a single bad read, not a single failed bet, not on this show. Undefeated, baby. That's what we do here. We're going to take one final look at these fighters. I'm going to talk you through how they looked on the scales this morning. We're going to size them up. We're going to actually understand not what the numbers say, but how they look when they're facing each other off. Who's bigger? Who's smaller? Who won the face-off? Who's more intense? Who's bringing the heat? I'm going to let you know. And then we're going to take all the analysis from the week, and hopefully we're going to make the best bets we possibly can for tomorrow. Use that info. Make some money. What's up, everybody? Welcome into the chat. We got Mike Imperial dropping bets already. Dixon Sider. We got Sean V. Small World. Jude Harley. Let's go. Let's get into this. Hitman's in the house. Anthony, what's up? Vicky Nunya, my boy. How you doing? All right. So first fight of the evening that we need to talk about is going to be Diana Belbita. She's taking on Maria Oliveira. Diana came in at 114.5. Maria 115.5. She needed that extra pound there. Diana looked fantastic. Very relaxed on the scale. Doing her thing up there. Maria Oliveira, no issues for her either. Big smile. Let's be honest. This is a battle of the hair. That's the most important thing in this fight, is who has the best hair, because Diana's got it down past her butt. And then Maria Oliveira, it's the volume on that thing. I mean, it looks like a wig. It's like out to here. It's unbelievable. When they face off, height advantage goes to my girl Diana Belbita. Maria came in close, though. She's feeling herself. She's chomping at the bit. She walked up in there. And honestly, both these girls were yapping at one another. They were both jawing the whole time they were in there. Very confident, both sides. I like this fight. The intensity was fantastic. So we got to pick them. This line's been ping-ponging back and forth all week. I lean towards Diana Belbita. Kind of wish I had taken it at that plus money. She's minus 115 now at this point. We have a 2.5 for the total, and I talked about it on the total takedown. I actually think one of these girls is going to find a finish, like one way or another. The intensity they bring, the pace they fight at, the lack of defensive responsibility. They're both young. They still make mistakes. I think we're actually going to see an under here. I have not bet it yet. I might simply bet violence for this fight, but I kind of like Diana Belbita, and I might even take her inside the distance. I don't know that sub is most likely in this spot, but with her being so young, being gone for a year, working on her skill set to get well-rounded, KO is more likely, but you're going to get a nice sexy number on her, pun intended, for the inside the distance prop. I think Diana Belbita is my side. I think she finishes. That's going to be the way I roll here. And again, no official bet here on this one for me yet. So keep an eye out on the socials. If I do pull the trigger, I will let you guys know as soon as I do. David Dvorak taking on Steven Ursig. Both guys came in at 125.5 pounds. Dvorak absolutely shredded. I mean, face was sucked out up there, but that's kind of classic for him. He doesn't have an ounce of fat on his body on weigh-in days. Steven Ursig, blank face, emotionless. I still don't have a read on this guy. Obviously, he's new to the UFC. He skipped his debut because of COVID. He skipped the Dana White Contender Series. I don't know anything about the guy at this level here, but he's big. They face off, and I talked about how David Dvorak has got a big frame for this division. I talk about how strong he is, how physical he is, for him to just kind of push and bully his opponents around in the cage. Ursig's bigger. Ursig's way bigger. So you've got a spot where Ursig opened up offshore at like plus 350. He's all the way down to plus 225. I think we've got a very extremely live dog here in this spot, especially with that size advantage. He may just hit harder. He may just be more muscly. And we've seen David Dvorak in some very questionable positions scrambling. That's Steve Ursig's thing. He's got a big ground advantage here in this spot. I believe he's the better submission artist, and you can get a big number on him to win by sub at like 7 or 8 to 1 out there. That might be the sprinkle. Like, if you're gonna bet the dog, probably take him inside the distance. I don't know if I trust him to win a 15-minute fight. He's extremely live, but I would predicate that very heavily on the finish side of things. Again, no bet for me on this one. I think I missed the boat. If I had got that plus 350 number that was floating out there, that's probably the way that I would look. But at this point, I may end up just passing on it and fireball and popcorning it. Just watch this one, get some entertainment value, take some notes, see what we're going to get from Ursig and Dvorak going forward, because Dvorak's on an 0-2 skid right now. He really needs to get back in the win column. Blake Bilder taking on Kyle Nelson. Blake Bilder 145.5. Kyle Nelson 145 on the dot. And Blake Bilder looked like a jacked version of Jesus up there today. I mean, he was feeling himself. Absolutely relaxed. Crazy amount of muscle on him. He's in insane shape for this fight. Kyle Nelson looked good as well. He did not struggle as much as I think we've seen him in the past, making 145, gave a big flex. Slight wobble on the scale, though, I will tell you. Very slight wobble for him up there. Now, when they face off, Nelson does have the size advantage. You know, we kind of expected that. He's fought at 155 before, doesn't look out of place in that weight class, so he's a decent bit bigger here. But Bilder, he was intense and never broke on the stare down. So, like, Kyle Nelson was ready to do his thing, walked away, and Blake Bilder just kept on staring at the space where his head was there for a second. He's really focused and zoned in here for this fight. Blake Bilder opened up as a minus 400 favorite. He's all the way down to minus 250. So some big support at big plus numbers came in on the other side to make this line shorter. And frankly, I am buying on Blake Bilder here at minus 250. I've got him in a parlay already. That was the first bet I made on this card. I tweeted that out earlier. I think his wrestling pace is just going to be too much. You know, Kyle Nelson really relies on bullying his opponents around the cage, and then he kind of hangs on for dear life later in the fight. And if he can't hang on for dear life against someone who's got better cardio than him, he falls apart in the third round. We got round 3 written all over this bad boy. I think Blake Bilder breaks Kyle Nelson after showing that he's got the better wrestling and the better gas tank and the better pace in that first round. I think Kyle Nelson slows down in the second. Blake takes over, and then it's just a matter of time until he gets finished. So I got Blake Bilder in the parlay. I think we're going to sprinkle that round 3 sub, or we might even do like the 2-3 sub combo. I think over on FanDuel, that's plus 450. That actually might be my my Action Network right up there is going to be the thing. And TNT saying Blake Bilder's fighting a Canadian. Yes, that is true. He is. But he's fighting a very bad Canadian. Kyle Nelson is probably the worst Canadian on the roster, and I don't think he'll have a job after tomorrow, quite frankly. MD saying, is this live? Yes, it is. Live Undefeated show, baby. I know sometimes I have to like pre-record it, and we upload it, and it's like a, what is it called? Not presentation, not a preview. It's a premiere. They do the premiere thing where it's pre-recorded, but it shows as live on YouTube. No, this one's actually live. My man D, what's up, buddy? Thanks for hanging out today. Good to see you. Next up, we've got Orichi Long taking on Eamon Zahabi, 135 for Ori. Geez, I always mess that up. Orichi Lang, and then 135.75 for Eamon Zahabi. Orichi Lang looked stoic up there, but fantastic up at 135. I think that's a good move for him. He was a big dude, big frame at 125. Now that he's at 135, seems like he's filled out really well, and it fits him very nicely. Eamon Zahabi, honestly, he didn't look that good. He made weight. He did all right, but he did look like he struggled a little bit. 35 years old, you know, that it's probably got to be getting hard on him to make that cut. He did go ahead and give it his best Arnold pose on the scale. Give him a little credit for that. Slight size advantage here for Orichi Long. Intense face-off. These guys went nose to nose up there. I love this fight. This one's going to be a barn burner. The thing is, I don't know what to do from a betting perspective. I think I'm going to roll with Team Fight Ready Orichi Lang. I have never been a big fan of Eamon Zahabi. I know he's the hometown Canadian boy, but he kind of is well-rounded, does everything okay, doesn't really stand out anywhere. I think he's going to be slightly smaller. I think Orichi Lang is going to be the slightly better grappler. I think he'll have, I know he will have more volume, and as long as he doesn't get chinned by Eamon Zahabi, who does have some underrated power, Orichi Lang should be able to get this win. Whether he finishes a hobby or gets a decision on the scorecards, I think he'll be the one that kind of takes over with his speed, his cardio, his pace, and he should be okay at that point. Nonstop Philly, what's going on? Thank you for hanging out today, buddy. Wade's Venture saying, how are we doing UFC? What's up, Wade? Thanks for hanging out here today. All right. Next up, Jasmine Jasudavicius takes on Miranda Maverick. Both women came in at 125.25 pounds. Jasmine, super confident in herself, little quirky smile up there, no issues, abs for days. She's got like the longest torso you've ever seen. So she's got like an 8-pack she's rocking up there. Miranda Maverick, big old flex. She's thick as ever. This girl always comes in fantastic shape. Obviously, size advantage for Jazz. Miranda Maverick is much, much shorter in this spot. I've been debating basically all week. So Jazz is the hometown Canadian. And as much as I don't like her fighting style. I don't think she's very good. I think the same thing of Miranda Maverick. I think Miranda Maverick is a bully. She's big, she's strong, she's physical, and she just kind of mauls people in there. She's got good cardio. Obviously, the higher ceiling. She's 25 years old. But at this point in her life, if she runs into somebody like Jazz, who's just bigger than her and just able to kind of stay with her when it comes to the grappling and the physicality, I think Jazz is going to make this fight a little closer than people think. And because of that, we're in Canada. I think Jazz has a chance to like steal a split decision or something like that. So I think it's kind of dog or pass betting perspective, but at the same time, Miranda's probably the one who keeps on making improvements. I wouldn't be shocked at all if she's able to go ahead and squeeze out a decision here in this spot. I don't know that we're getting a finish from anybody unless it's like a Jasmine gassed round 3 Miranda sub type of situation. I could see that happening later in the fight. But at the same time, if Jasmine keeps this thing standing at range where she's got that height and reach advantage, I think she could just jab her to death. So I think we've got a live dog. I don't know that I can stomach putting my money on Jasudavicius in this spot. I really don't. So far right now, it's a pass, but it's a lean to the dog. Johnny saying, yo, Clint, didn't hear the big guy on anything for the sharp action report. And that, Johnny, is because the big guy passed on this card. We always tell you guys where the action is for the sharp action report. Everybody, if you haven't seen it, make sure you hit that. It's you hit the live tab on Pup Sports Radio here. We did it just a couple of hours ago. We did go over the sharp and notable action for this card, but nothing from the big guy this week. He's a legitimate high-level gambler. He only comes in, he picks his spots very carefully. So no action from him this week. So that's why you didn't hear anything from him in this spot. Next up, the Twitter excitement main card of the week here. Chris Curtis takes on Nassourdine Imavov. Curtis 185 and a quarter, Imavov 185 and a half. Chris Curtis looked fantastic on the scales today. I mean, this guy, he bulked up well to 185, but it looks like he may have even worked on adding more muscle to his frame since he's decided to stay at 185 permanently. Looked great. Nassourdine Imavov, though, strong, big flex, looked good. This guy's got a 205-pound frame fighting at 185 pounds. So there's a big size difference again. My guy Curtis, as almost always, is on the short end of the stick. He's the smaller fighter here. And this line has just kind of suspiciously been moving slowly towards Nassourdine Imavov. Guys, I'll be honest with you. I don't know why Nassourdine Imavov isn't like a 2-1 favorite in this spot. I know he lost to Sean Strickland in a 5-round fight, which is Chris Curtis's, his brosef, his training partner. I know he lost to that guy not too long ago. But when I looked at this fight, I thought I was going to get a big, juicy number on my boy Chris that I just couldn't refuse. I thought I was going to get a plus 175 or something like that on Chris Curtis because everybody and their mom is on Imavov. He's only minus 160. I'm just extremely confused as to why, when everyone and their mother is on Imavov, seeing this as the easy buy low spot of the week, why don't the bookies think that? It's very, very confusing to me. I smell a rat. I'm just not sure if I'm on the right or the wrong side of the trap in this spot. So I as always, kind of lean to my guy, Chris Curtis. The thing is, we know exactly what we're getting with Chris Curtis, right? We know exactly what we're getting with Chris. He has to have someone who's a willing combatant. And that's the reason I have not bet him here in this spot. Because if Nassourdine Imavov does the Joker thing, if he uses that height, if he uses that reach, if he stays on the outside, he will pick my boy apart. And it's going to be up to Chris to close the distance and wreck him with a body shot or something like that to be able to get this thing shut down. But if he can't chase the guy in the big cage, he's going to lose a decision again. And that's why I am just kind of I think I'm going to wait. I think this is an in-fight live bet opportunity. I'm rooting for my boy Chris. I'm a Chris the Action Man truther. I'm picking him. I want him to win. But realistically, I can see how and why Imavov has an extremely clear path to victory. Now, if we go into round 1 and Imavov is engaging with my guy Chris and it's a close fight and that kind of a thing, I can see Chris Curtis landing a knockout blow in the second or the third round, like he does after he gets his opponent's timing down. But if he's chasing Imavov all of round one, it's going to be like a runaway Imavov decision. It's going to be the same thing we've seen time and time again. It's just a bad stylistic matchup for Chris. Can he win it? Absolutely. Absolutely he can. But we need to know that he's got the opportunity to finish before I get involved financially speaking. I've put my money heart first before, and it doesn't go well. So we're not doing that this time. We'll wait to see what we need to see, and then we'll jump in. Small World Lifter saying Imavov is a fraud. And you know what? Like, I don't know if he's a fraud, but at the same time, I'm not sold on him the way I was before. He's very young. He's got a big frame for the weight class. So, maybe in a year or two, he still rounds out to be the guy that we thought he was going to be. But I don't think he's all that he was hyped to be yet at this point in time. I'll agree with you there. My guy in the house, UFC Bet Picks. What's up, my friend? Thank you for tuning into the show. Six Insider saying, don't be afraid to fade Curtis because of that fear. He will block you on Twitter. Absolutely. No, I'm a Chris Curtis truther, man. I'm not betting against my guy. I'm not getting blocked on Twitter. He retweeted my meme I put out this week. I ain't doing that shit. Next up, Eryk Anders takes on Marc-André Barriault. We've got Anders 184.75. The 0.75s drive me nuts, Canada. What are you doing? Marc-André Barriault 185 on the dot. Eryk Anders, no issues at all. In fact, he looked way better than he usually does. Anders is a big guy, big, strong, athletic. He's struggled to get down to 185. We've seen him look like a ghost at some of these weigh-ins, and he actually looked pretty dang good today. Marc-André Barriault, classic. No issues for him whatsoever. He's a professional. He never seems to get too high or too low on the scale, in my opinion. These guys size up really well, and this was something that made me feel pretty good. So I'm already in on Marc-André Barriault. I bought at the wrong time. I got minus 140. Some money's come in on Eryk Anders the other way. You can get MAB for minus 130 now. Honestly, guys, the line move doesn't scare me whatsoever in this spot. I think everybody's overhyping Eryk Anders, and this is a spot where, as much as Chris Curtis is my guy, like Eryk Anders is my guy. I love the guy. Like, I've DM'd back and forth with him. I want to see him do well. I want to see him win, but he dropped the R word. He's talking about retirement. He's talking about how he's only got 5 fights left and he's going to focus on being a dad. And it's like, all those things are great, but that's in the back of your head where when it comes to your training, your effort, are you 1 foot in the grave? I'm not entirely sure where he's at mentally. You compound that with the fact that he's not at fight ready anymore. Now, I love the MMA lab. It's a fantastic gym. Good bodies to train with there. Jared Cannonier's over there. That's a great person for him to work with. But at the same time, when you've got a new system, new coaches, new camp for the first time because of drama going on from your last camp, do we know it's a good fit? Do we know he gets along with his training partners? Do we know he gets along with his coaches? Who's in his corner? Like, these are the kinds of things that kind of bug me a little bit about the situation with Eryk Anders. And then at the end of the day, are we expecting Eryk Anders at this phase of his career to really take leaps and bounds of improvements? The one thing I want to touch on before I go too deep into this is everyone is selling out for Chris Curtis's knockout. I'm sorry, not Chris Curtis. I'm stuck on that. Eryk Anders' knockout over Dawkins in his last fight. Guys, that might be the most fraudulent knockout of all time. So Eryk Anders comes in. He looks better. He clips the kid. He's looking fantastic. Don't get me wrong. Kyle Dawkins was always chinny. Always has been. And he just grapples more often than not or doesn't get touched very much, so we never got much chance to see it. So Eryk Anders hurts him on the feet. I'm not shocked by that. He was coming off of 5 weeks of a facial reconstruction surgery. Bro had his orbital broken 5 weeks before the fight. That fight never should have been sanctioned. I could have KO'd Dawkins that night. You hit the guy in the face after having it repaired, it's going to hurt. He's going to react poorly. So that didn't go well. And then at the beginning of round 2, Eryk does like the launch into you headbutt. He slammed this guy head to head right before the knockout happened. I think he did the most damage with his head, more so than with his hands. And then even at that point, the ref had to step in to save Dawkins when he was getting ground and pounded, hanging on for a leg. It wasn't even like a clean flatline KO. The guy just had nothing left to give. He'd been hurt one too many times and stayed down. That's not an impressive KO to me in this spot. You're going to take on Marc-André, a guy who has only been like head kick clean by Cheaty, who's a monster at this weight class. And then he got, outpaced by Fluffy and tapped out in the third. Like, Eryk can't recreate either of those finishes. So I think it's MAB all day. I think it might get a little hairy in the first round. I know Marc-André Barriault is going to have the cardio and the pace to go harder and longer than Eryk Anders can in this spot. So as much as I love the guy, it's a money-making opportunity. I got to put my cash on Marc-André Barriault, even though my heart wants to root for Eryk Anders. I got to put my money where I think the actual bet is going to take place, and that's on MAB in this spot. Yo, Razor in the house. What's up, buddy? Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you, man. Let's see here. Small World lifters. I can't get behind NGL players, wannabe fighters. Give me the actual fighter. If I look stupid, I look stupid. I'm not sure what you mean by that, my guy. Not sure what you mean by that. All right. Dan Ige takes on Nate Landwehr coming up next here. Ige 145.5, Landwehr 144.25. And Dan Ige was stone cold on the scales today. This guy he got his confidence back. He got his swagger back. You know, he was on a tough run against the best fighters in the world, got a knockout, and he's feeling it right now. You've got Nate Landwehr up there, though, intense. Gave one of the hardest flexes I think I've ever seen. And this was a crazy intense stare down. These guys got in close with each other. Landwehr was like grinding his teeth, jaws clenched so hard. I thought he might chip a tooth up there. This was a great face-off. Obviously, Landwehr is ever so slightly larger than Dan Ige, but Dan Ige's never been finished over the course of his career. We know he's got 15 straight minutes of cardio. I do not believe that Nate Landwehr is the guy who's going to finally break Dan Ige. And I just think Dan Ige is better than him, frankly, everywhere. I'm picking Dan Ige by knockout, but just in case he, outclasses him for 15 minutes, I've got him parlayed up. That's the second leg of my parlay with Blake Builder, and that's going to be my 2-legger. I think I put 3 units on it at that point, or minus 101, 3.03 to win 3, something like that. I like that spot. I think Dan Ige wrecks Nate Landwehr. We got a lot of people biting on him as a dog. He's been a good dog. He really has been. He's been a good dog for people. But I think this is just a levels jump, and it's going to be too much for him. Let me see here. Razor says, I see you have some trash right in front of you. Let me know if you need me to come over, clean that crap off the wall. Son, you just know you're going to be Kirk Chains' bitch for the next 2 seasons. So I don't want to hear about it. For those of you who don't know, my guy Razor is a Packers fan. We're going to get some fantasy football going here pretty soon. I can't wait. I'm excited. Adam Fugitt takes on Mike Malott up next. Fugitt 170.75, Malott 169.5. Adam Fugitt was the last one to the scales today. Gave me a little bit of a scare here, guys. Look absolutely wiped up there. Gave a half-hearted smile, like barely got his hands up for the pose. He was absolutely exhausted. I don't know if it was a bad weight cut or if he just started too late, but something went wrong today for our guy Fugitt. I'll be honest with you. And that's where you guys know I'm always going to tell you the truth, right? Like I've got a bet on Adam Fugitt. I put 2 units on him earlier in the week. I like him to win this spot. This is heartbreaking for me because I like watching these weigh-ins and making adjustments based on how these people look on the scales. Fugitt looked awful. Mike Malott came in relaxed, confident, feeling himself, looked very good on the scales today. These guys actually size up really, really well. Frame-wise, shoulders, body, head, neck, all of it. They are the same size, good stare down. Thankfully, Adam Fugitt looked a whole lot better. Must have rehydrated up after the actual weigh-ins before the ceremonials because he looked a whole lot better. Moved well. Seemed like he had more energy at that point. I'm on Fugitt, guys. I'm on Fugitt. I got plus 175. I missed the good number. There was plus 185 a little earlier in the week. So missed out on 10 cents. I'm a little uncomfortable with this one. I'll be honest with you. I thought that I was going to be kind of the sole Fugitt player this week. I thought I was going to be a little bit on an island because I've been waiting for my chance to fade Mike Malott. And even though he's in Canada, I just think everyone's looking past Fugitt a little bit too much. And then I keep seeing other bets roll in on Fugitt. I keep seeing other people picking Fugitt. It's like, damn it, man. Like, you guys know me. I want to be alone. I want to be on an island. I want to be the only guy calling for the upset. And I feel comfortable in that role. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of people agreeing with me here on Fugitt, and that's very concerning. Now, not to say that the bet is dead on arrival or anything like that. Mike Malott, I still think we fade his chin. I still think Fugitt is the better grappler. We've proven Fugitt's got 15-minute cardio, whereas we still don't know what Mike Malott looks like after round 1. Malott absolutely could guillotine this guy. Malott absolutely could bonk this guy. I think Fugitt's got the goods. I think he's got what he needs to get this win here, but don't let it, don't get it twisted. This is a setup fight at home for Mike Malott to get a highlight reel. I'm just banking on the fact that Adam Fugitt is more of a dog than people are getting him credit for. Apparently, there's a few other people out there doing that. More people than I'd feel comfortable with. Nunes says that Malott's wrestling comes through again. And see, that's where Malott actually, I think, is the better grappler, jiu-jitsu player, but not wrestler. I think Fugitt has the actual wrestling advantage here in this spot. So as long as he doesn't leave his neck out there, I think he can hit takedowns. Co-main event, folks. Co-main event. And Jacqueline in the house. What's up, Jacqueline? Thanks for hanging out. We got Charles do Bronx Oliveira taking on Benny Dariush. Charles Oliveira came in at 154. Benny came in at 156. And Charles looked absolutely shredded up there. Face is sucked out to all get out. Mouth dry, trying to taste his teeth. Really tough weight cut, even though he's rocking the sunglasses. I sniffed it out. But Charles always has a bit of a tough weight cut. Speaking of tough weight cuts, Beneil Dariush, my goodness, that man looked absolutely wiped on the scales today. Like, if we were going to make a bet simply based on who won on the scales, Charles all day, because Benny is really having a hard time with the cut these days. The dude's back is like twice as wide as mine. He's got so much muscle on him, got a big old rib cage, large frame. So it's not too surprising that he has a tough weight cut at this size. But he made it. He got it done. 156, looked absolutely wiped, but he's here. Charles does have a slight height advantage. Obviously, Benny's got that big old back on him, so he's a little bit wider. This was a very, very good face-off. And guys, I think we're getting to the point of disrespect. You know, the sharps, the public, everybody is on Benny Dariush. And I could see the argument for Beneil Dariush at plus money. Like, if you want to say Charles Oliveira gets hurt in every fight, Charles Oliveira gets knocked down in every fight, he lost his belt, he's lost the motivation, this is where we see him tumble. You know, you've got a dangerous opponent in Dariush, a guy that hits hard, a guy that wrestles well, he's got good jiu-jitsu, he's got everything you need to be able to beat a Charles Oliveira, and you give me plus money on him. Okay, no arguments here whatsoever. Now that the line is flipped and Beneil Dariush is the favorite, and people are continuing to pour in laying chalk on Benny as the favorite, he's up to minus 155. You now have Charlie O, who is one fight removed from being the seeded reigning UFC champion, sitting at plus 135. And it looks like it is not slowing down. It looks like it's going to continue heading that direction. I'm going to have to bite on Charlie O, folks. I really am. Because Charles Oliveira is championship caliber. And as much as we think Beneil Dariush can fight for a title, we don't know. We've never actually seen it. And on top of that, Benny has been hurt and Benny has been finished multiple times. He's on a spectacular winning streak right now, and he upset a lot of people, myself included, when he beat Mateusz Gamrot. But folks, I parlayed Gamrot because I thought Gamrot was going to be the guy to derail this man. He's fought. Let's just run through this real quick. Gamrot, impressive as hell, don't get me wrong. Tony Ferguson, the ghost of Tony Ferguson in 2021. Carlos Diego Ferreira by split decision in 2021. Another broken fighter at this stage of his career, really. Scott Holtzman, nah. Drakkar Klose, Frank Camacho. Bro's been cut, never amounted to much. Got an armbar over Drew Dober, whose grappling has always been his problem. And then Thiago Moises, who was never really a top 5 guy. So don't get me wrong. There are some really good wins in here. There's some really good performances. I'm not trying to take anything away from Benny. But when you look at Charles, Justin Gaethje, round 1 finish. Dustin Poirier, round 3 finish. Michael Chandler, round 2 finish. And then he beat Tony Ferguson before he was the ghost of Tony Ferguson. And then guillotined Kevin Lee when he was still pretty much prime Kevin Lee. That was the best version of Kevin Lee we've ever seen. And this guy tapped him out. Like, the strength of schedule for Charles Oliveira can't be denied, in my opinion. Benny's been KO'd 3 times. Let's not forget, Edson Barboza knocked him out in round 2. He got starched by Alexander Hernandez in round 1. And then way back in 2014, he got punched out in the first round by Ramsey Nimjim. You know what the issue is? Benny does everything winging. Everything's wide. Everything's outside. Big hooks. And these days, especially, he slows down. His cardio seems to be a bit of an issue. He can wrestle, but then he kind of Silva backs himself up to the cage and wings a big overhand. Charles Oliveira does everything right down the middle. Knees up the middle, front kicks, straight punches. I actually think Charles is going to knock Benny out. Benny's been KO'd 3 times. And I think Charles is going to be the one that gets to the button just a little bit faster. And then here's the other thing. You go back to the one time Beneil Dariush was actually submitted, and that was against Chiesa. How wild of a result is that, right? Michael Chiesa, somebody who's been kind of a little bit of a disappointment after that. We really thought he was something at that point. Has been a little up and down since. But that's the guy you get tapped out to first. But let me tell you how he did it. It was from the body lock. He ended up not out wrestling Benny Dariush. is a jiu-jitsu guy who got in on the body lock, dragged him to the cage, and then climbed on his back. That's the thing that got him. Now, this was way back in 2016. So again, games are going to be more well-rounded, holes are going to be patched and things like that. But look at the prototype. Charles Oliveira is taller and lankier than Benny Dariush is. He's not a Mateus Gamrot. He's not a short, small guy who's going to rely on the takedown. He's not going to shoot naked takedowns from 10 feet away. No. He's going to punch his way into the clinch. He's going to grab that body lock. He's going to look for opportunities to snake to the back. It's not the same thing as defending a wrestling takedown. And the scrambles are completely different when someone's looking for a toe, an ankle, or your back. I just see way too many opportunities and openings where Charles can remind us who the fuck he is tomorrow. I think Charles Oliveira is the side, and I think you got to go with that back class. You got to go with the guy who was the champion and is one fight removed as such. I believe he's also, the younger fighter by 1 year. I know he takes damage. Don't get me wrong. Benny could bonk him in the first round and knock him out cold. I think this is going to be a violent fight, quite frankly. But I'm picking Charlie, and I'm picking Charles by KO, folks. Let me see. What's the number? Let's rock over here to Superbook Sports here real quick. And what we've got for Charles Oliveira by KO TKO, 550 plus 550. I like that. I think I like that. All right, we're going to rock with Charles Oliveira. And I think that's going to make my actual betting card. And I'm sure that I'm going to go ahead and put that knockout prop on my card as well. It's main event time, folks. It is main event time. And we are talking the GOAT Amanda Nunes taking on Irene Aldana. Mexico, stand up. Both women made 135 pounds on the dot, but not without troubles. Amanda Nunes, honestly, quite frankly, looked pale on the scales today. I thought she had a bit of a tough cut up there the way she was looking, but she ended up, she smiled, she shook it off, she gave a good flex, looked all right at the face-offs. Irene Aldana sucked out face. This girl is huge for the weight class, and she's got those nice Mexican cheekbones here. So when she cuts her weight, it all comes. You can really see those things pronounced when she cuts her weight. Cheeks popping out there. But she's okay. She moved well enough. Both women stepped in hard for this face-off. I mean, showing each other the fists. Like, I kind of thought this was going to be a slow, low-paced, maybe wrestling-heavy game plan. These two might just sprint for the center of the cage and see who falls over first the way they're looking at each other, man. I'm having a real hard time with this fight. I've had a hard time all week. I was on the Grasso train. I've been on Team Mexico. Brandon Moreno, Alexa Grasso. Like, I love my hometown Mexican fighters, and I've been making money backing these people as they've taken over the UFC. It's been phenomenal. It's been fantastic. And I looked at this fight when it got booked, and I went, you know what? The UFC would prefer Irene Aldana over Jessica Penne. I think they're trying to get Mexico one more. I think they're really trying to get Mexico one more. And I expected to be on Irene Aldana, and I feel like I should have been. But the longer I look at this fight, the more I see opportunities for Amanda Nunes. I mean, I've said it before. I've said it so many times this week. If Nunes is like 80%, if she's retirement Nunes, if she's looking to be done soon, then Irene is going to trash her in this spot. She can beat 80% Amanda Nunes. But Nunes doesn't necessarily look like she's hung it up to me. She doesn't look like she's got one foot in the grave. She doesn't look like she's retiring up there. She's got that fire. She's stepping into Irene Aldana, showing her the fist. Like, I was hoping to see her going through the motions. I was hoping to see some weakness from her. You know what I mean? I wanted the sign that I could bet Irene Aldana, and I'm not getting it. I think I've got to pick Amanda Nunes. I've got to pick the GOAT to go ahead and do her thing and retain this title. The one thing that I can see is Irene Aldana maybe by submission. It's 15-1. And if she is able to do kind of what she did against Macy Chiasson, win a couple of those scrambles, she is the bigger fighter. Physically, she's going to be larger. And as much as I think Amanda Nunes does have like the wrestling advantage, I think that we still have those cardio concerns that we've talked about with Amanda Nunes. And if her cardio starts to be a problem, if her breathing starts to be a problem here towards the end of her career, we could see Irene Aldana reverse her, catch her in something, hit her with one of those subs. She has been training with Alexa Grasso, and we saw what happened with Alexa Grasso and Shevchenko. She just needed one back take for that thing to be over. So whether she snatches up a neck or she finds her way to the back in a scramble or something, 15-1 is probably going to get a little sprinkle out of me on Irene Aldana. I'm not telling you to, smash the bookies, tank it to the bank. It's Aldana by sub. But I do think her submission game is underrated. And frankly, she finished Macy Chiasson twice in that fight. You know, that phantom tap situation that she got away with. She had her hurt, she had her bad, she had her deep in that sub, and she totally tapped and got away with it. And then she got knocked out for it in the third round. So I think Irene Aldana is very live to get a sub on Amanda Nunes here in this spot. The problem for me is I want a Jessica Beneil type. I want someone who can actually out wrestle Amanda Nunes to be able to take that, you know, that real big money line dog shot on her. And I don't know that we have that here. I think we have to wait for Amanda Nunes to be compromised, whether she gets caught by a big shot or whether she gets tired out deeper in the fight. I think that's when it would happen, if it's going to happen. The problem is we've seen Irene Aldana fall to that exact strategy before. You know, Holly Holm was able to grind her out. My girl Raquel Pennington was able to grind her out. Caitlin Chukagian was able to stay safe. Not the same game plan, but she was also able to grind her out. And those are the kinds of things that are concerning. You know, if you're losing to that game plan multiple times over the course of your career, you're 35 years old, you're kind of a completed product. I think she can be a little bit more improved when it comes to the submission grappling aspect of her game. But as a striker, she's probably going to be who she is. She's not suddenly going to be a badass wrestler in this spot now. No. She's going to look for that big left hand on the feet. She's going to look to hurt Amanda Nunes. And if she can't get that, she'll look to take advantage of a scramble. But that's it. That's what we're going to get from Irene Aldana. And if Amanda Nunes pins her up against the fence, puts her on her back, and does that 5 times over the course of the fight, I don't know if she ever finds that opportunity. So I'm going to pick Amanda Nunes to win. I think over 2.5 makes sense from just the way I see the fight playing out. However, if these women charge at each other and go full on Masvidal to start the fight, you know, it wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me one bit if one of these two bit down on the mouthpiece. We saw it in the PFL just the other night, right? Like, I thought that the main event was going to go a little bit slower, and they ran out and threw down in the center of the cage until somebody got knocked out. That could happen in this spot too. So I'm a little scared of this main event, folks. I've got some confident reads on the rest of the card. I don't like the main event too much. I think we're going Charles Oliveira. That's going to be a undefeated post-weigh-in show fight ad here. We're already on Fugitt. We're a little nervous about that. I think we like violence in that fight. We have Dan Ige parlayed with Blake Builder. I like that. We're going to go Blake Builder. Probably round 2-3 sub at plus 450, or maybe just the round 3 by itself, something like that. I will hit the later prop here on Blake Builder one way or another. Chris Curtis is a live bet opportunity. Marc-André Barriault, even though the line moved against us, I ain't scared. You know, one thing, I'll give you guys the highlight real quick from the sharp action report that I did with my guy Andrew from Superbook. They've positioned themselves to need Marc-André Barriault. And to me, that speaks almost as much as any sharp action we could look for. The bookies, the book is saying, hey guys, come play Eryk Anders. They're fine with Marc-André Barriault being the favorite in this spot. They are fine with needing him to come through in this spot for them to win on the evening. So for me, that's all the backup that I needed, that I'm on the right side there. I like Marc-André Barriault, even at the, well, especially I would like it better at the reduced price, but I already laid minus 140. So it is what it is. Jasudavicius. Oh, I don't know what to do there. I think taking a flyer on her, maybe the split decision prop, maybe get some hometown robbery in Canada or something like that. Highway robbery. Let's go, Jazz. I don't know. We'll see. I might pass on that one. Orichi Lang is the pick. Don't know whether or not I'll bet it. Maybe I will. Who knows? You're going against Team Canada there, and that's scary. You want to finish Canadians, folks. You want to finish Canadians. If you're betting against them, you don't want to go to the judges' scorecards. And then I might add Diana Belbita as well. Folks, that is the undefeated post-weigh-in show. I hope you all get out there, kick some ass, make some awesome bets. We're going to make piles at UFC 289. We're going to make up for the PFL bullshit that robbed us of our cash. We're going to make it all back tomorrow. I'm so excited for this card. I'm so pumped up. We're going to have a great weekend. You all keep that energy up. Keep those positive vibes going. Go out there and bless somebody, whether it's a high five or a hug or something, anything. Just get out there and make somebody else's day. You'll feel a whole lot better yourselves if you do that. Let's make some serious cash. Hit the like button on your way out. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great... GMC saying, how do I get paid out for last week's UFC competition? Hit up Slaughter. Hit up Slaughter on Twitter. The Pub Sports Radio handle. Make sure you tag him on Twitter and then hit Slaughter on there. It's Slaughter Haus. Haus1 is his handle on Twitter. Make sure you tag him for winning the contest. And usually they wait a week or two just in case, because every single time we do a giveaway or something like that, you get the weirdos that try to like claim the money that aren't actually the ones that won the contest. So The payout is a little bit delayed whenever that happens, but don't worry, they're good for it. You'll get your $100 and congrats on winning the contest. For everybody else that doesn't know, Pub Sports Radio free free pick'em contest every single week. Check out the Pub Sports Radio site. It's free to enter. You make your picks, fight a round method, whatever. $100 to first place. All you got to do is beat us. You just got to beat the Pub Sports Radio personalities, and you get a free $100 for taking it down. Let's go, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you tomorrow. Check the social media for all the official picks and bets at Die Hard MMA Pod on all your favorite platforms. And I'll talk to you guys in the morning. Have a great night. Let's roll.